Now a facelift usually means you get a nip here, a tuck there, and if you're really lucky, a bump in performance. But Tata Motors has apparently thrown that rulebook out the window with the Nexon facelift. You get an updated cabin, a few new features, a whole new front end, and the cherry on top is this petrol version that we have right here. It makes 10 more horses. So, does all of that mean that the Nexon should be your new car? Well, to make that answer a little bit easier for you, here are 5 things we like about the new Nexon and 4 things we wish it did better. The Nexon was always a handsome car, but frankly, we love the design of this new car a lot more than the outgoing one. One of the highlights of the design are those tri-arrow elements which are present all throughout the car and give it a more contemporary feel.
The sleek projector headlamps with the tri-arrow LED design, the front grille which is predominantly a gloss black applique, the resculpted front bumper that now features sharper, more distinct lines, and a high-set bonnet give the Nexon a more upright and aggressive stance. You also get a new machine-finished alloy wheel design, and if you look a bit more closely, you'll also notice the tri-arrow design on this side cladding. At the back, the tail lamps get new LED elements. Do these remind you of a certain country's flag? Let us know in the comments below.
The Nexon is genuinely the best looking SUV in the segment, so much so that it looks a lot more expensive than it really is, and that's a damn good thing when it's parked in your driveway. Now a car's only purpose isn't to look good in your driveway, it has to be able to deal with your family and friends as well. And when we got the folks in office to sit in the Nexon, they were genuinely impressed with the kind of space here on offer. We could fit 3 adults in the back, but it being a snug fit, it's not really advisable for long road trips. However, 2 adults and a child, now that's something the Nexon will do all day long. Also, this soft cushioning means that their backsides will be comfortable as well.
The soft cushioning also means that the middle passenger remains adequately comfortable, despite having the armrest as a part of the backrest. The under-thigh support is generous as well, and the supportive cushioning for the 2 outer passengers will keep them snug in their seats.
Having recently compared the Nexon with the Venue and the EcoSport on our sister channel Car Dekho, we can safely say that 3 in the back will be the most comfortable in the Nexon. 3 abreast is one thing, but what happens when you get a move on? Well, Tata has tuned the suspension of the Nexon in such a way that it can eat speed breakers for breakfast, lunch and dinner and not even burp. You do find that coarse surfaces like concrete can be slightly felt inside the cabin, but nothing that feels uncomfortable. There is, however, an underlying stiffness to the suspension, which means that over broken sections of road, some horizontal movement can creep into the cabin. But that's a big plus for the next thing on the list, handling. The Nexon's high-speed stability and predictable nature in a corner means that it's quite sure-footed. Now what that means for you is that you will feel confident pushing the car to its limits. Also, younger, lesser experienced drivers will be able to enjoy this feeling while staying and feeling relatively safe. And the underlying stiffness of the suspension means that body roll doesn't crash the party. Now we've talked about keeping the passengers happy and the driver happy. But one thing that keeps everyone happy is music, and the sound quality of the Nexon's 8-speaker system by Harman will definitely sit well with everyone. You could be listening to a symphony of jazz or the latest bass-filled banger from your favorite rapper. The Nexon's music system will do justice to both of them. So now it's time to look at those things we wish the Nexon did better. The 1.2 turbo petrol now makes 10 more horsepower, and that had us really excited. But sadly, reality is a little different. Those 10 extra ponies are lost in translation. The engine feels a little dull at the bottom end because of the turbo lag, but there's good pull in the mid-range before it starts feeling stressed at the top end, where it makes more noise than power. But the real disappointment here is the gearbox. At higher revs, it's impossible to make a quick shift as it's downright stubborn in shifting to a higher gear. And to make it work, you have to bring down the revs. This leads to slow shift times. In fact, in our performance testing, this new car was almost 2 seconds slower from 0 to 100 kmph compared to the older Nexon. Although, when accelerating from low to high speeds in one gear, the Nexon did prove to be faster than before.
While the Nexon's engine and gearbox might not be suited for some spirited driving, they do the job well inside city limits. At lower speeds, the engine offers enough grunt to keep you moving and the gear shifts slot in easily. The light clutch cements the Nexon's credentials as a good car to drive at city speeds. The drive modes do offer a reasonable difference in responsiveness, and while city and sport mode offer enough to get the job done, we felt eco mode to be a little dull to be of use anywhere.
Now, Tatas have traditionally been better at meeting the needs of larger people. So, these ergonomic flaws are more apparent if you're under 6 feet tall. And for example, if you're short or 5'8" like me, you set the seat to reach the pedals. But in that case, the steering ends up being too close for comfort. And then there are some follow-up niggles like the ORVM adjuster, which is just out of my reach from my preferred driving position. Now, is this a deal breaker? Definitely no. But then rivals like the Venue and the EcoSport aren't asking you to do such things. The new digital instrument cluster is also rather crowded. Now, all of that data is quite useful, but it can get a little hard to read while driving. And the most irritating of all is this USB slot. This opening right here is so small that it's pretty difficult for your hands to directly reach the slot. And some old flaws remain. There is no proper storage for your phone. This is where you have to keep it. This central cup holder, it's quite a stretch to reach and store anything here. You do get cup holders in the glove box, but it's quite a stretch for the driver. And frankly, nobody wants to be driven with an open glove box in front of them.
The new steering wheel design that has been lifted from the Altroz does look nice, but you do end up accidentally honking while making turns due to these side buttons. The one thing you will appreciate is that you can store 1 liter water bottles in all doors, and even separate umbrella slots have been given in the front doors.
The Nexon was a handsome car when it was first launched. It got quite a few features, and more incredibly, it got that 5-star safety rating from Global NCAP. But ultimately, that's not what got everybody jumping on the Nexon bandwagon. It was its value for money proposition. However, with the BS6 update, prices have increased quite a bit and it has lost that edge. When you compare it to the turbo manual petrol Venue, it is only 20,000 rupees less expensive. Not only that, the top of the line diesel automatic Nexon is the most expensive car in the segment. It's more than a lakh expensive when you compare it to the Venue turbo petrol DCT, and in here you're only getting an AMT. And to give you a more apt comparison, if you compare the diesel manual top spec variant of the Nexon against the Venue, there's a price difference of rupees 50,000. And surprise, surprise, the Nexon is the pricier car here. Come to think of it, most of the things that the Nexon does well can be experienced from these seats. And most of the things that it doesn't do well can only be experienced from this seat. So well, it's simple. If you're looking to buy the Nexon, we suggest you employ a driver as well and simply enjoy the ride. And as you're buying the Nexon, we're pretty sure you can afford a driver too.